AITA for giving my husband an ultimatum. His kids or me? What about this title? My life shattered with a single text message. It wasn't from a secret lover or about a tragic accident. It was from my husband, Mark, a man I thought I knew inside and out. The words glowed on my phone screen, simple and devastating. Meeting with my lawyer today. Starting the process to fight for full custody of the girls. We need to talk when I get home. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a plan we had made together. It was a declaration of war on the peaceful life I had so carefully built, and he had just enlisted me as an unwilling soldier. The man who sent that text was not the man I married 7 years ago. When I met Mark, he was a charming, recently divorced father of 2, struggling to find his footing. His daughters, Lily and Chloe, were 6 and 4 then, sweet girls caught in the crossfire of their parents' bitter separation. Their mother, Sarah, was portrayed as unstable and unreliable. I fell in love with Mark's dedication as a father, his vulnerability, and his dreams of a new, stable family. For years, our life was a delicate balancing act. We had the girls every other weekend and one night a week. It was manageable. I grew to care for them, though we never crossed the line into a true mother-daughter relationship, a boundary I maintained carefully and one their mother fiercely enforced. My career as a freelance graphic designer demanded intense focus and long hours, but I made it work around our limited custody schedule. Our home was a calm, adult-oriented sanctuary for half the month and a bustling, toy-filled zone the other half. It was a compromise, but it was our compromise. The first crack appeared 2 years ago. Sarah, a nurse, accepted a promotion that required erratic shifts. Suddenly, we had the girls more often, weeknights, unexpected school pickups. My work began to suffer. Deadlines I used to meet with ease became frantic, all-night struggles. I'd be on the cusp of a creative breakthrough when a cry of, "I'm hungry," or "she took my toy," would shatter my concentration. Mark was sympathetic but dismissive. "It's just for a little while," he'd say, or "Can't you just work later after they're in bed?" He didn't understand that creativity isn't a faucet you can turn on and off. It requires quiet and mental space. The final straw was the Parker & Sons project. It was the biggest client of my career, a rebranding project that could set me up for years. The presentation was on a Thursday, a day we unexpectedly had the girls because Sarah had a double shift. I had hired a sitter, but Chloe woke up with a fever and the sitter canceled. Mark had an unmovable meeting. I spent the morning rocking a crying child, trying to soothe her while frantically editing slides on my laptop with one hand. I was late to the virtual meeting, flustered and unprepared. I lost the client. I lost the $15,000 fee. I sat on my home office floor and cried tears of pure frustration and rage. That night, I laid it out for Mark. "This can't happen again," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "My career is important to me. This arrangement is no longer working. I cannot be the primary, on-call parent for your children. It's destroying my livelihood." He was defensive. "They're our family, Maya. You have to make sacrifices for family. They are your family." I corrected him, the words feeling cruel but necessary. "I chose you, and by extension, I choose to care for them when it's our scheduled time. But I did not choose to have my career derailed by last-minute emergencies that are not my responsibility. You need to figure something else out with Sarah." The conversation ended in a stalemate. He thought I was being selfish. I thought I was being realistic. The resentment began to build, a quiet, cold wall between us in our own home. And now, this text. Full custody. It wasn't just a request. It felt like a death sentence for the life I knew. When Mark came home that evening, he didn't look like a man weighed down by guilt or apprehension. He looked triumphant, energized, like a knight returning from a successful campaign. He tossed his car keys into the ceramic bowl by the door with a familiar clink, a sound that usually signaled the end of the workday and the beginning of our evening together. Tonight, it sounded like a starting pistol. "So," he began, pouring himself a glass of whiskey without offering me one. "I met with Henderson. He thinks we have a really strong case. Sarah's work schedule is all over the place. She's dating some new guy who's basically a stranger to the kids, and her apartment is a shoebox. We're going for full custody, with limited, supervised visitation for her." I stood frozen by the kitchen island, my hands gripping the cool granite. "We," I finally managed to whisper. "Of course we," he said, smiling as if I'd just told a joke. This is for our family, Maya. Think about it. No more back and forth. No more dealing with Sarah's drama. The girls will have a stable, consistent home. It's what's best for them. The room seemed to tilt. And what about what's best for me? For us? I asked, my voice gaining strength. Mark, you're talking about a fundamental change to our entire lives. Lily is 12, Chloe is 10. They need constant attention, driving to activities, help with homework. Who do you think is going to do all that? He looked at me, genuinely confused. Well, you will. You work from home. It's perfect. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of his assumption left me speechless for a moment. Perfect, I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Mark, I lost the Parker account because of one unexpected day. What do you think will happen to my career if I have to become a full-time mother to 2 children who are not mine every single day? You're talking about me giving up my work, my income, my sanity. Don't be so dramatic, he scoffed, taking a sip of his drink. You'll adjust. You'll find a way. This is about the girls' well-being. That's where you're wrong, I said, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous calm. This is about your ego. This is about you winning against Sarah. You haven't once asked me how I feel about this. You just decided, and you expect me to fall in line and become the live-in nanny. His face hardened. They're my daughters, Maya. This is what being in a family means. You support each other. A clarity, cold and sharp, settled over me. This was the crossroads. If I didn't draw the line now, I would be erased, my identity and my dreams swallowed whole by his. I took a deep breath. Then you need to listen to me very carefully, Mark. If you move forward with this, if you file those papers to fight for full custody, I will not be here to adjust. I will divorce you. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. He stared at me, his glass halfway to his mouth, the triumphant gleam in his eyes replaced by sheer, uncomprehending shock. You would leave me over this? He stammered. I am not leaving you over the children, I said, each word measured and precise. I am leaving you because you have unilaterally decided to destroy the life we built together without a single thought for me. You are asking me to sacrifice everything, and you didn't even have the decency to ask. You told me. He was furious now, his face turning red. So that's it. Your comfort is more important than my children. No, I said, feeling a terrifying finality. My life is. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving him standing there, the weight of my ultimatum hanging in the air between us, thick and suffocating. The days that followed were an icy standoff. We moved around each other in the house like ghosts, speaking only when necessary in clipped, formal tones. The tension was a physical presence, a third entity living with us. Mark oscillated between cold silence and furious attempts to guilt me. I can't believe the woman I married is so heartless, he'd say. Or, Lily asked why you've been so quiet. What am I supposed to tell her? I held my ground, but inside, I was crumbling. Was I the villain? Was choosing my own peace and career over the stability of 2 children a monstrous act? I lay awake at night, tormented by doubt. I loved Mark, or at least, I loved the man I thought he was. The man who now inhabited his body was a stranger who saw me as a resource to be managed. A week after our confrontation, I was checking our shared bank account to transfer my portion of the mortgage when I noticed a series of large, unfamiliar withdrawals. $5,000 here, $3,000 there, all within the last month. The memos were vague. Investment, consultation, legal. My heart hammered against my ribs. Legal. Henderson, the lawyer. A cold dread, different from the emotional turmoil I'd been feeling, seeped into my bones. This wasn't just about a custody battle. This was about our financial future. We had savings, but these withdrawals were draining them at an alarming rate. We had plans, a dream to eventually buy a larger house, to travel, to secure our retirement. He was burning through our shared dreams to fund his war. That evening, I confronted him, my laptop open on the kitchen table. Mark, what are these withdrawals for? He didn't even look guilty. I told you. Legal fees. Henderson is the best, and the best isn't cheap. This is for my daughter's future. Our future. I shot back, slamming the laptop closed. You're spending our joint savings without even discussing it with me? This is financial insanity. It's necessary, he yelled, finally losing his composure. You've left me with no choice. If you weren't so selfish, if you were willing to be a proper wife and stepmother, We wouldn't need to go to these lengths. I have to do this alone because you've abandoned us." The accusation hung in the air, ugly and absolute. It was in that moment, looking at his twisted, angry face, that I knew our marriage was already over. The divorce was just a formality. The trust was gone. Desperate for an outside perspective, and against my better judgment, I called Sarah. I needed to understand the other side of this madness. To my surprise, she agreed to meet me for coffee. Sitting across from her in a quiet cafe, she looked tired but composed. "I figured you'd call eventually," she said, stirring her latte. "He's draining your bank account too, huh?" I blinked, startled. "You know?" His lawyer sent over the initial filings. "He's claiming I'm an unfit mother because of my work schedule and my unstable personal life," she said, making air quotes. Her voice was laced with a bitterness I recognized all too well. "He's conveniently forgetting that my unstable personal life includes his refusal to be more flexible with the girls on my work days. And my new boyfriend, David, is a kindergarten teacher who the girls adore. He's more of a natural parent than Mark has ever been." Then she dropped the bombshell. "Mark didn't tell you why he really wants custody, did he?" I shook my head, my throat tight. "My parents," she said, a sad smile touching her lips. "They passed away last year. There was a life insurance policy, a significant one. It's held in a trust for Lily and Chloe, to be managed by the custodial parent until they turn 18. Mark isn't fighting for them, Maya. He's fighting for the money." The world stopped. The noise of the cafe faded into a dull hum. Every argument, every accusation, every moment of his self-righteous fury rearranged itself in my mind, forming a new, horrifying picture. It wasn't about being a better father. It wasn't about beating Sarah. It was about cold, hard cash. He was willing to tear apart his daughter's lives, destroy his marriage, and bankrupt us, all for a payday. Armed with Sarah's revelation, I felt a new, steely resolve solidify within me. The guilt that had been eating me alive vanished, replaced by a clear, burning purpose. I was not the villain in this story. I was another one of Mark's victims. And it was time to stop him. My first stop was a lawyer's office, my own. I sat across from a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Evelyn Reed and laid out the entire sordid tale. The ultimatum, the unilateral draining of our joint assets, and the motive of the life insurance trust. Evelyn listened intently, her fingers steepled. "We need to act fast," she said. "We'll file for legal separation immediately. This will freeze your joint assets, preventing him from spending another dime of your marital property on his custody case. We'll also file for spousal support. Your income has suffered due to the increased childcare, and his actions are financially detrimental to you." It felt empowering to be on the offensive. While Evelyn began drafting the paperwork, I made my second move. I invited Sarah back to the same cafe. This time, the dynamic was different. We were no longer adversaries. We were reluctant allies, united by a common enemy. "I know about the trust," I said without preamble. She let out a long, weary sigh. "I thought he might have kept that from you. He's a piece of work, isn't he?" "I'm filing for legal separation and freezing our accounts," I told her. "It will cut off his funding. But you need to know what he's planning. He's going to paint you as an absent, unstable mother. You need to be prepared." We talked for over an hour, strategizing. I gave her a detailed statement about the decline in my work, the specific projects I'd lost, and Mark's dismissive attitude, which she could use to counter his claim of a stable home environment. She, in turn, gave me the name of her lawyer and the details of the trust, which my lawyer could potentially use in our divorce proceedings to prove financial malfeasance. That night, I packed a suitcase. I told Mark I was staying with a friend until I could find a temporary apartment. He was livid, of course. "Running away?" he sneered. "No," I said calmly. "Moving on. I've filed for legal separation, Mark. The joint accounts are frozen. You'll have to fund your little war with your own money." The color drained from his face. "You can't do that. You bitch. You're sabotaging me." "I'm protecting myself," I corrected him. "And for what it's worth, I know about the life insurance trust. I know this was never about the girls." For a split second, pure, unadulterated panic flashed in his eyes before being replaced by a mask of rage. It was all the confirmation I needed. He had nothing left to say. I walked out of the house, the door closing behind me with a soft, final click, the sound of a chapter ending. The fallout was swift and brutal. With his funding cut off, Mark's high-priced lawyer dropped him as a client. He was forced to represent himself in the custody hearings. Sarah, armed with evidence of his true motives and my testimony about the instability his actions had caused, was granted primary custody. Mark was given standard visitation rights, and the court appointed an independent financial trustee to manage the girl's life insurance money, stripping him of any control. Our divorce was finalized 6 months later. The judge was not sympathetic to Mark's case, especially given the evidence of him depleting our marital assets for a case built on questionable motives. I was awarded a significant portion of our remaining savings and the house, which I promptly sold. I wanted no reminders of the life I had left behind. I found a small, bright apartment with a home office that had a stunning view of the city. The silence was no longer lonely. It was peaceful. It was mine. My business slowly recovered. I poured all my energy into my work, and soon, I was landing bigger clients than before, my creativity unleashed now that it was no longer being stifled by constant stress and resentment. About a year after the divorce, I was at a bookstore when I saw Sarah with Lily and Chloe. They looked happy and relaxed. Lily saw me and waved shyly. Sarah came over to talk. "Thank you," she said simply, "for what you did. You didn't have to help me." "I didn't do it for you," I said honestly. "I did it for me. But I'm glad it helped you and the girls." She nodded in understanding. "He's telling everyone you blackmailed him and broke up the family for your own selfish reasons." I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. "Let him talk. I know the truth. And more importantly, I'm free." As I walked away, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had faced an impossible choice: surrender my life or break a vow. I had chosen myself, and in doing so, I had not only saved myself but also, inadvertently, protected 2 young girls from a father who saw them as a financial opportunity. The path had been painful, littered with betrayal and heartbreak, but it led me to a life that was truly my own. I had no regrets, only a quiet certainty that I had made the right choice when my back was against the wall. I had chosen to save myself, and in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. The story ends here, but our journey doesn't have to. If you want to join me for the next tale, please subscribe and ring that bell. Your support means everything. Thanks for watching.